5, 4, 3, hands on keys, turn. Greetings and felicitations. This is Michael Haspel. I am bringing you the next in the series of author interviews from the KT Literary Retreat that I just returned from. And my next guest is Michael J. Martinez. He is the author of the Daedalus trilogies and the MJ12 trilogies. The MJ12 stuff has to do with like alternate history, supernatural and superpowered beings kind of being recruited by the government. The Daedalus incident trilogy has to do with like kind of a Jules Vernean kind of tech overlapping with ours. So if it sounds like Space 1889 meets The Martian might be up your alley, you definitely need to check these out. And Michael J. Martinez has spent nearly 20 years as a professional writer and journalist, including stints at the Associated Press and abcnews.com. After telling other people's stories for the bulk of his career, he's happy that he can now start telling a few of his own. He is a member of SFWA, the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America, and the International Thriller Writers. When he's not being a parent or a writer, he enjoys beer, homebrewing, cooking and eating, and the outdoors and travel. Without further ado, I bring you Michael J. Martinez. All right, welcome back to Quantum Froth Dispatches. I'm here with Michael J. Martinez, who is written two trilogies now.
Two trilogies now. And they're both done. And I'm so tired.
And both of them, I have not read the second one yet, I confess. But I know what MJ12 is, so I'm like, oh, it's on my short list.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
So he has written the Daedalus Incident, the Enceladus Crisis, and Venusian Gambit, and the novella Gravity of the Affair, and then the MJ12 Inception, Shadow, and Endgame.
Yep, that's about right. And some short stories thrown in there in various places.
Nice.
So, I've been really, really lucky. This has been a fun ride since 2013. It's only been about 5 years.
Wow.
Since the first book came out. I mean, obviously that first book took a few years to write, but yeah, I look back on it. I'm like, geez, this has been fun. This has been a heck of a ride. I'm really lucky.
Yeah. So I will have read like a short bio before this, but is there anything else you want to like tell us about yourself or?
So my work is primarily in genre bending, historical fantasy, science fiction, fantasy, paranormal, historical. I like to mash genres together and see what happens. But that said, you know, a lot of my short stories are much more focused. I've been able to do Lovecraftian horror. I've been able to do humor. I've written for two of the gaming IPs that I've enjoyed since I was a kid. One was for Pathfinder, which is a flavor of D&D.
Nice.
And the other was the first book in the 25th anniversary anthology for Vampire the Masquerade.
Wow. Okay.
Which I was like, okay, seriously, my tiny college goth was very pleased. And if you know me, I'm like 6'3", 250, so it's not like I was tiny, or very gothy, but I loved that game. And to be able to do something like that was a total bucket list thing. It was great. Yeah.
I used to play a lot of World of Darkness back in the day.
It was so, I mean, and at the time, a little bit of a history lesson. I mean, role-playing games up to like, 1990, 1991, you were the hero, right? I mean, you were, even if it was like Cthulhu, you were still the investigator. Mm-hmm. What the World of Darkness did was it made you the monster. It made you the vampire, the werewolf. It was very different, and you really had to bring your emotion to the game. It wasn't about winning or losing. It was about saving your humanity or channeling your rage. It was just a very different vibe in games at the time. It was eye-opening, I think, as to what you could do in the genre. So definitely an influence on me. So when a friend of mine was tweeting like, "Oh, I'm going to edit this," I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm going to submit, and you're going to take it." And she's like, "You can submit, and we'll see." And then next thing you know, I'm in there with Delilah Dawson and a bunch of really great writers, and it was the first one in the anthology. So I'm like, wow, all right.
That is fantastic.
It was so much fun.
Did you do any LARPing with the vampire stuff?
I didn't. I as much as I admire people who will go and LARP and cosplay and everything else, that's I don't have the chops
too
for that.
far.
No, I admire it. I wouldn't say it's a bridge too far. It's like I have enough hobbies.
Okay.
Adding on, dressing up for it seemed a bit much.
Yeah.
But much respect. It does look fun.
And I understand that. And you said that your first book took a lot longer to write.
Sure.
Was your first book that got published the first book you wrote?
So there was a trunk novel that was horrible, and that didn't. I didn't even really bother revising it. I had the idea for the Daedalus incident going back to like 2003, before my daughter was born. And I played with it for a good year and a half. And then my daughter was born. And then life happened. And then I really didn't touch it for 6 years. And then I got it in my head I could write fiction. And I wrote this sort of trunk novel that didn't work. I look back on it now, and this is going to prompt me to open the file again and probably die a little inside. But I put it aside, and then I wrote the Daedalus incident, and it worked. Now it took a while. I mean, I finished it in late 2010. Sarah Megabo, my agent, took me on in 2011, and we got the book deal in 2012. And
nice.
Then it was published in 2013. So that first novel is really slow in that regard. But the actual writing of the novel, the idea I had for years and years, the writing didn't take that long for me, only because I used to work for the Associated Press.
Oh, okay.
So literally sitting down to 2,000 to 3,000 words a day is not hard. I'm not saying they're great words. That's why we revise. But at least for that first draft, I can sit down and pound it out. And so while Daedalus was on submission and then in the editing process, I was able to get Enceladus sort of at least started. And then even before Daedalus came out, the publisher was like, you've gotten some really great reviews. What else you got? We should do more. And I'm like, yes, please. And so we did 2 more on that, and then we re-upped with Nightshade Books for the Majestic series. So it's been about a book a year. But as of now, which is mid-September 2018, I am out of contract, and I'm really okay with that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm I have a really great idea that I'm excited about, my agent's excited about. I am taking my time. I am kind of going back to basics a little bit, making sure that I am putting in, let's face it, when you write on deadline, in an established world already, I don't want to say that you're being lazy, but there is a pro forma-ness to it.
Oh, okay.
You obviously put your heart and your soul and your craft into it, but you're also on a deadline. That can't help but affect how you write. So me not being on a deadline now for this book, I'm very excited to let it marinate.
Oh,
come to fruition on its own terms. I also think it represents I am trying different things. I am trying to level up as a writer. I'm trying to make the book far more emotionally resonant. I write action adventure, and I'm proud of it. And I have great character development and everything else, but this one I want to be special.
Nice.
So I'm willing to take my time.
Yeah. So along those lines about writing on deadline, have you ever experienced writer's block?
No. I spent so many years as a daily journalist where that just simply isn't a luxury. I will skip around in a book if need be. All right, I am stuck here, but I know, 10 scenes from now that I am going to have a massive fight scene. Let's just write that.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know that that's going to be fun, and you could do that, and then you could figure out how to get there. So I have my tricks around that. The only problems I've really had with deadlines has just sort of been life focused.
Okay.
Like, I lost my mom in 2014, and the Venusian Gambit was due like 6 weeks after she passed. And thankfully, much props to Corey Allen at Nightshade Books. I said, look, this ain't going to happen. And he was like, I don't care. You do you. We will be here for you. We will make it happen. Just go and do. Which earned my immense loyalty to him as an editor, because we had only worked on one other book together. And so, I mean, they were fantastic about it. You know, I do believe in hitting my deadlines, kind of born and raised to do that, but life does get in the way. And when that happened, they were fantastic. So, and I was only about 2.5 months late.
Oh, I guess that does impact the publisher, but that doesn't sound like it's too bad.
We had built in a good year, like it was due, and it would come out a year later with plenty of time for copy editing. So we truncated that a bit, and it still worked out fine. But they were just super awesome about it.
Excellent. It sounds like you have a really good relationship.
I have enjoyed working with them. I think Corey Allen's a fantastic editor, and they've done great work, especially on the Majestic 12 stuff, with design. The interior design of the books, I'm really proud of. So in these books, it's about a government conspiracy to hide and use superpowered humans in the Cold War. And I created a bunch of fake government documents.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
And I worked with their interior designers to make those documents look, redacted and stamped with top secret, and they look fantastic. They did. If there's an award for book design, I really hope that book got submitted, because it was just amazing work. And as a narrative device, it was a great way to, let's face it, info dump in a very entertaining way. Probably saved me like 20,000 words just to be able to put it into sort of a document.
Yeah, which is a very cool, like kind of in-world way of passing on that information to the readers.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
No, it was so much fun. I think it also just added to the flavor of the book too. Government conspiracies need secret documents. So.
Yeah. Okay, so imagine there's like an alternate reality where you didn't write any of your books, but you get to choose one book that you did write. Which book would that be?
Wow. That's a really excellent question. I'm going to pass. I'm actually very, very pleased with my books. And I am so proud of my friends who are authors, and just either authors I don't know, that they've been able to write awesome books. I wouldn't want to be part of that timeline.
Okay.
I mean, someday, for example, I'd really love to write a Star Wars novel.
Yeah.
I would love to play in that sandbox. I've had friends who have been able to do so, and it sounds awesome. So, Lucas Books, if you're listening, I would totally love to do that, but I wouldn't necessarily give up what I've done in order to do that.
Nice. Okay.
So if I never get to do it, so be it. That's fine. But I want to.
Heck yeah. And we're closing up on our time, unfortunately. Right. What is one piece of advice that you want to give to either aspiring or regular writers or anything?
Put your butt in a chair and write. Seriously. I got my first book deal on my 40th birthday. I am midlifing in style. There is no time limit. There is no age limit. There is no nothing except you producing the best possible work you can. The only way it's going to happen is just write, and make it the best you can be, and be proud of that. You wrote a book. That's a hard thing to do. Do it, put it out in the world, and see what happens. I'm a perfect example of, cold calling an agent or cold emailing an agent, and then it all happened. So if I can do it, I think most anybody can. So just, if you put in the work, it'll happen.
Great advice. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You have been listening to Quantum Froth Dispatches by Michael Haspel. Music and other cues are provided by The Fat Rat. The song you're hearing is Monody, featuring Laura Brehm. If you would like to support the podcast, please visit www.patreon.com/QFD. Thank you for listening, and we now return you to your mundane reality.